Here's a quick highlight from our latest episode of Booked on Rock. Martin Popoff, the author of Kiss 76, 12 Months That Defined the Hottest Band in the Land. Let's get to Ezrin now. March of 76, Kiss released Destroyer. You write that Kiss came into the sessions with a large batch of songs. Ezrin rejected most of them. The result is a batch of songs created under his vision. Could Destroyer have become such a landmark record without Ezrin's heavy-handed guidance?
I don't think so. I mean, it is my favorite Kiss album. It's a lot of people's favorite Kiss albums, but it is a bit of a love it and hate it album. And interestingly, when it came out, there were some bad reviews, and to the point where Kiss fired Ezrin off of the next album, blamed him for this crappy album, quote unquote. But of course, now it is the most celebrated Kiss album. I think it's the one that people think has the most brains behind it. It's got the most dynamic range, all the way from, the super quietness of Beth with no drums whatsoever to some of their heaviest songs. Certainly, probably most of their heaviest songs yet in God of Thunder, Detroit Rock City, King of the Nighttime World, mainly. And the heaviness was advanced by this slightly wider, more exciting range, even to the heavy end of things. But it had a lot of ear candy on it as well. Critics still, they didn't particularly like it, but now they weren't calling Kiss a boy band, they were calling them pretentious, as if like this is almost too smart in a way, but it was like fake smart. So that happened, but as we know, and then the deep angry headbanger fans revolted big time against Great Expectations, and Beth hated them, as I did. But I realized, Detroit Rock City is clearly the most sophisticated, cool new song that they ever did. And just the production in general is really good. Kiss had kind of an odd 70s glam production. Hotter Than Hell had that turgid, obscure sound, muddy. And then, people think Dressed to Kill is a little bit too clean and neat and polite. And then people think Alive sounds great, but this sounded like properly dynamically great, like just good highs and good lows. It was just a good sounding record. And yeah, a lot of this came down to Bob Ezrin. He did a lot of this kind of thing with Alice Cooper. Not the greatest sounding albums, the Alice Cooper albums, but the first really good sounding Alice Cooper album to my ears is Welcome to My Nightmare. And Destroyer to me feels almost like Welcome to My Nightmare Part 2. There's just so much about it that you can compare. And I believe, how did that, some podcast, maybe one of my own podcast episodes or our video channel Contrarians, I did a whole comparison between the two, and they just seem really, really, really alike.
Oh, I got to check that out. Yeah. Well, this is probably a good time to ask you about Kim Fowley. He's among the exclusive interviews for this book. Talk about his contributions to the story of Kiss in 1976.
Yeah, he was a crazy guy. He seemed a little bit mentally ill. I interviewed him, and he's a very boastful guy as well. Wanted to make sure his legacy was in kind of on it. So there's just the elliptical "Do You Love Me" story, co-write Kim Fowley and stuff. He's not a big part of this whole thing, and he's part of the Runaways, of course, as well as a manager of that band. And then Venus and the Razor Blade. So he's got his hands in a few things here and there, more as a co-writer or almost like shilling this song and trying to get it over into the band. So yeah, he's just one of these strange guys along the way. Kiss has an interesting history. So if you go through the credits all throughout, there's all like, who was that guy? Who's that guy they co-wrote? Who's Stan Penridge? What's Vinnie Poncia? What's he all about? Where are all these people? Sean Delaney, what is that? And so it's he's just another one of these characters along the way.
Oh, who's the guitarist that was with Alice that was on some of the Kiss records?
Dick Wagner.
Now. Yeah, Dick Wagner.
Yeah, Dick Wagner's somewhere in here. So Bob Ezrin has this good thing about him is like he will crack the whip. If you're not doing well, he will just say, "I'm going to replace you," and he'll threaten you with that. And so he made all these guys work hard. And I think everybody in the band appreciated it after the fact, but during. It was more like the guys with their heads screwed on straight, i.e. Gene and Paul, realized this is good for us. And Ace and Peter were more the complainers, thinking, this is too much work. We'd rather drink and do drugs kind of thing. something and not work this hard, and let's be a little more spontaneous. But after the fact, everybody kind of spoke well the experience. Yeah, we kind of needed that. We kind of needed to be whipped into shape a little bit.
Listen to the full episode wherever you get your podcasts.